Have you ever noticed how quickly more becomes normal? You work for something, you finally get it, you feel wonderful for a little while, and then very soon the mind says, all right, what's next? A little more money? A little more recognition? A little more success? A little more approval? And if we are not careful, we keep moving the finish line farther and farther away. We say, when I have this, then I'll relax. When I reach that, then I'll feel secure. When I become this version of myself, then I'll finally feel complete. But completion keeps moving because the mind has made a habit out of postponing it. I do not postpone my wholeness. I want you to remember that. You do not have to wait for another achievement before you are allowed to feel whole. You can enjoy growth. You can enjoy goals. You can enjoy creating more and still know, right now, I am enough to belong to my own life. You see, wanting something is not the problem. Desire can be very healthy. Desire can be playful. It can say, I would enjoy this. I would love to experience that. I'm curious to see where this goes. There is room in healthy desire. There is breathing space. You can want the new job and still enjoy dinner tonight. You can want more money and still appreciate what you have. You can want a loving relationship and still live a meaningful day before it arrives. Craving feels different. Craving says, I need this or I am not okay. I need this person to choose me or I am not lovable. I need this achievement or I am not successful enough. And that is a very heavy way to want anything, because now the thing is no longer simply something you desire. It has been given the job of proving your worth, and no outer thing can do that job permanently. It may make you feel wonderful for a while, of course. You get the promotion and you are delighted. Enjoy it. You receive the compliment and it feels lovely. Enjoy that too. But if your sense of worth depends on another achievement arriving every few months, then you have built a house on moving ground. There will always be another level, another person who has more, another goal, another comparison. So I want you to learn the difference between saying, I would love this, and saying, I must have this in order to feel complete. The first is desire. The second is pressure. Sometimes before you chase the next thing, stop for a moment and notice the energy behind it. Not a long analysis. Just notice. Is there excitement? Wonderful. Is there curiosity? Good. Or is there a tight little voice saying, if I don't get this, it means I'm not enough? If that voice is there, give it another thought. My value is not waiting at the finish line. Let the goal be a goal again. Do not make it responsible for your identity. You know, we do this with self-improvement too. We can turn our whole life into one endless repair project. There is always another book to read, another habit to fix, another part of the body to improve, another emotional pattern to heal, another morning routine to perfect. And one day you may realize you have spent years trying to become a better person and very little time enjoying the person who is already here. Well, that is not the point of growth. Growth is not a punishment for being unfinished. Growth is simply life moving through you. There is a great difference between saying, I want to learn because life interests me, and saying, I must improve because there is something fundamentally wrong with me. The first has joy in it. The second has criticism in it. And criticism is exhausting. We have talked so much about being kind to the mind, and this is another place to practice it. You do not have to wake up every morning and immediately ask, what shall I fix about myself today? Some mornings, you can simply wake up and be alive, have breakfast, put on something you like, do your work, laugh, sit in the sun. You are allowed to live yourself, not only improve yourself. That does not mean we stop growing. Of course not. I love learning. I love changing my mind when something new makes sense. I think it is marvelous that we can become more of who we are. But notice the phrase, more of who we are, not finally good enough to deserve being here. You were already worthy of love before you read the first self-help book. You were already a valuable human being before you learned how to meditate, set a boundary, make more money, lose weight, or say an affirmation correctly. And not every part of you needs an upgrade. Perhaps your laugh is perfectly fine. Perhaps your love of silly movies does not need to become productive. Perhaps your Sunday afternoon nap does not need to be optimized. Perhaps the way you enjoy cooking, gardening, music, walking, talking with a friend, or sitting quietly is already enough. We have become so accustomed to asking, how can I make this better, that we sometimes forget to ask, can I simply enjoy this? Try that with something ordinary. Eat a meal without turning it into a nutritional examination. Take a walk without needing to count every step. Read something because you enjoy it, not because it will make you smarter. Spend time with somebody without asking what the relationship is teaching you. Not every moment needs to become a lesson. Some moments are here to be lived, and I think this is where wholeness begins to feel real. Wholeness does not mean you have no goals, no unfinished areas, no desires. It means your unfinished areas are not allowed to cancel everything that is already good about you. You can say, I am still learning how to manage money, and I am enough. I am still learning how to communicate clearly, and I am enough. I would like to change my work, and I am enough. I want more love in my life, and I am enough. Do you hear the difference? The desire remains. The self-rejection leaves. I do not postpone my wholeness. That is such a useful sentence because the mind loves postponement. Later I'll approve of myself. Later I'll rest. Later I'll enjoy life. No, bring some of that approval into today. Bring some of that rest into today. Bring some enjoyment into today. The future does not need all of it. You know, if you spend 20 years chasing the day when you will finally feel complete, you may arrive at many goals and still have the same habit of looking for what is missing. So practice completion before everything is completed. That sounds strange, but it is very simple. Sit down at the end of an ordinary day and say, "Enough happened today. I did enough. I learned enough. I am enough for this moment." Tomorrow, you can continue. There is something very peaceful about allowing the present version of yourself to have a place at the table. Not the future you, not the improved you, this one, the one who still has questions, the one who is good at some things and awkward at others, the one who sometimes knows exactly what to do and sometimes has no idea. Let this person be lovable too. And when you notice yourself chasing another goal from that old feeling of insufficiency, you do not have to scold yourself. Just change the thought. "Oh, I'm making this goal prove something again." Fine. Then say, "I can want more without making myself less." Isn't that better? I can want more money without making today's self poor in worth. I can want more success without calling my current life a failure. I can want more health without hating the body I have now. I can want more love without treating myself as unlovable until somebody arrives. I can want more without making myself less. That may be one of the most important things to understand. And please remember, enough does not mean stagnant. Enough means you stop withholding love from yourself while you are growing. A flower does not become worthless because it has not finished blooming. We do not stand over it saying, "Hurry up, you're not impressive enough yet." We give it what it needs and let it unfold. Give yourself some of that same patience. So perhaps today you stop chasing for 5 minutes. Sit down. Look at your life as it is now, not as the final version, just as today's version. Notice one thing you have already done well, one quality you already possess, one part of your life you already enjoy. Let that be real. Then say, "I do not postpone my wholeness. I can grow without treating myself like a problem. I can desire more and still appreciate who I am today." Let those thoughts become familiar. You do not have to force yourself to feel magnificent. Just stop making inadequacy the price of growth. You are allowed to move forward from appreciation. You are allowed to succeed from joy. You are allowed to change because change interests you, not because you are ashamed of who you are. And sometimes the most radical thing you can do is stop trying to become somebody else for a moment and simply say, "This is me today. I am still growing, and I am already worthy of my own love." Well, you know, Sometimes we collect so much in the name of having more that eventually we have to buy another shelf just to hold all the things that were supposed to make life easier. And I think that is rather funny. We say we want freedom, and then we give ourselves more possessions to organize, more commitments to remember, more information to process, more goals to chase, and more decisions to make before breakfast. More choices do not always create more freedom. Sometimes they simply create more noise. A full life and a crowded life are not necessarily the same thing. So perhaps the next step is not asking, what else can I add? Perhaps it is asking, what can I release so I can actually enjoy what remains? You see, simplicity is not deprivation. It is clarity. It is removing some of what competes for your attention so that you can notice what really enriches you. We become accustomed to accumulation very early. More clothes, more money, more friends, more accomplishments, more knowledge, more options, and none of these things are wrong. I am certainly not against having lovely things. If you enjoy something, enjoy it. But there is an important difference between owning something because it adds pleasure to your life and keeping something simply because you have become afraid to let anything go. The same is true of commitments. Perhaps your calendar is filled with activities you once wanted but no longer enjoy. Perhaps your telephone contains endless information you never needed to know. Perhaps you have goals written down that belong to the person you were 5 years ago. You are allowed to outgrow a goal. Imagine that. You do not have to achieve every dream you ever had simply because you once wrote it in a notebook. So look around your life occasionally and remove before you add. Not in a harsh way. You do not need to throw half your house away tomorrow. Start with something simple. A drawer, a commitment, one source of information that adds nothing but noise. One goal you keep carrying only because you are embarrassed to admit you no longer want it. When you release something that does not serve you, you create attention, and attention is precious. What you give your attention to, you give part of your life to. So choose carefully. Perhaps you have 10 books you think you should read and one book you actually want to read. Read that one. Perhaps you belong to 5 groups and enjoy one. Give more of yourself to the one that matters. Perhaps you have 20 goals and 3 of them truly make your heart feel alive. What would happen if you stopped scattering yourself and gave those 3 more room? This is not laziness. It is concentration. You are saying, my life deserves more than quantity. It deserves meaning. And there is one question I do like here because it is very simple. What adds richness, not just quantity, to my life? Richness is a wonderful word. Richness can be money, certainly, but it can also be time, peace, beauty, friendship, laughter, good conversation, health, creative work, a quiet home, a sense that your day belongs to you. What adds richness? Not what looks impressive, not what makes other people believe you are doing well. What actually enriches the experience of being you? You may discover that some of the richest things are very small. An hour with somebody you can really talk to may add more to your life than 10 social engagements. One beautiful coat you love may give you more pleasure than 20 things you never wear. A clear Saturday may feel richer than a calendar filled with events you attend out of obligation. Enough becomes much easier to recognize when you know what matters. And that brings us to something almost nobody teaches us. We need to define enough for ourselves. If you do not define enough, the world will be very happy to define more. There will always be somebody selling the next level. More money, more productivity, more followers, more experiences, more success, more improvement. And if you do not know where your own point of sufficiency is, you can spend your entire life running towards somebody else's idea of abundance. So, what is enough money for you? I do not mean that you are never allowed to earn beyond that amount. Of course you are. Prosperity is wonderful, but what amount gives you the basics you value? Some comfort, some freedom, perhaps the ability to save and enjoy yourself. When you know that, money can become something you use rather than something that eternally tells you whether you are successful enough. Money is a useful servant and a very poor judge of human worth. And what is enough work? This is important because some people will work every hour you give them. There will always be another email, another project, another thing that could be improved. Work is never going to come to your desk at 5 o'clock and say, "That's enough, sweetheart. You have proved your value. Go home." You have to decide when work is enough for the day. If you do not, the work expands. Perhaps enough work means doing what truly needs to be done, and then leaving some energy for your body, your relationships, and your own interests. Perhaps you enjoy working a great deal. Fine. If it brings you joy and does not destroy everything else you value, wonderful. But be truthful. Are you working because you love the work, or because stopping makes you feel unimportant? There is a difference. Then what is enough achievement? Oh, this one can keep us busy forever. You reach one level, and the mind immediately begins discussing the next. Wonderful. You did that. Now what? We forget to celebrate. We forget to inhabit the life we worked so hard to create. Suppose you achieve the thing you wanted. Stay there for a little while. Enjoy it. Let yourself say, "I did this." You do not have to turn every mountain into the parking lot for the next mountain. And what is enough time for yourself? Do you know? Many people know how much time they need to give the job, the children, the household, friends, appointments, and responsibilities. But if you ask how much unclaimed time they need simply to feel like themselves, They have no idea. Yet that time matters. Maybe you need 30 minutes in the morning. Maybe you need one evening with nothing scheduled. Maybe you need a few hours on Sunday. Your amount may be completely different from somebody else's. Fine. Your life does not have to be crowded in order to be legitimate. I think we have confused exhaustion with importance. We say, I am so busy, almost as though we are announcing an achievement. And sometimes we are busy because life genuinely has a lot happening that occurs. But being constantly busy is not proof that you matter. Busy does not mean important. Exhausted does not mean valuable. A full calendar does not prove a full heart. There is a great deal of work that can be done simply because we are afraid of stillness. The moment there is an empty hour, we fill it. The moment there is silence, we reach for something. And then we say, we have no time to think. Well, of course not. We have scheduled thought out of the day. Try leaving some white space in your calendar. It may feel strange at first. You may look at an empty afternoon and think, I should do something useful. Perhaps you are doing something useful by not filling it. Rest has a function. Wandering has a function. Looking out the window has a function. A conversation that does not accomplish anything has a function. Life is not only what produces an output. Sometimes the mind needs time where nobody is asking it to solve something. The body needs time where it is not being pushed to perform. Your imagination needs time where there is no assignment attached to it. You may discover that your best idea appears while you are doing nothing particularly productive. That happens quite often. We force and force and force, and then the answer arrives in the shower. So allow space to be valuable before it proves its value. You do not need to justify every hour with a result. My worth is not measured by how exhausted I am. I want you to hear that clearly. My worth is not measured by how exhausted I am. You do not become more deserving because you are tired. You do not earn love by wearing yourself out. You do not have to arrive at bedtime completely empty in order to call the day worthwhile. There are days when you work hard. Wonderful. There are days when you do less. Fine. There are periods of tremendous activity, and there are periods when life seems to ask you to slow down. Work with the rhythm instead of making one speed the moral standard for every day. And if somebody else loves being constantly busy, let them. We do not have to change them, but perhaps that is not your rhythm. You are allowed to discover what kind of pace creates your best life. This is part of defining enough. Enough work, enough social activity, enough information, enough improvement, enough for today. Now something beautiful happens when you stop constantly reaching for more. You begin to go deeper into what you already have. This is very different from stagnation. Depth is growth too. We have made expansion look only like adding things. Sometimes expansion happens by giving more attention to one thing. Think about relationships. You can know hundreds of people and feel very lonely. Or you can have a few relationships where you are genuinely known and feel deeply connected. More people do not automatically mean more love. Sometimes what you are looking for is not another relationship. It is more presence in the relationships already there. Perhaps instead of trying to meet 5 new people this month, you have a deeper conversation with one person you already care about. Put down the telephone. Listen. Tell them something real. Ask how they are and actually stay for the answer. Depth requires attention, and attention requires that we stop dividing ourselves into 20 pieces. The same is true of skills. We love beginnings because beginnings are exciting. A new hobby, a new language, a new course, a new idea. There is nothing wrong with that. Curiosity is wonderful. But there is another kind of satisfaction that comes only after we remain with something beyond the exciting beginning. You practice long enough that your hands know what to do. You learn enough that the subject begins to open in ways beginners cannot see. You become good at something. There is pleasure in mastery. Perhaps you do not need another new interest. Perhaps you want to deepen one you already have. If you paint, paint more. If you write, keep writing. If you cook, learn the dish beautifully. If you study something, stay long enough to understand it beyond the introduction. Depth has a richness that constant novelty cannot give. And then there are experiences. We can collect experiences too. Travel here, eat there, visit this, photograph that. There is nothing wrong with having many experiences, but sometimes we move through them so quickly that we hardly receive them. We stand in a beautiful place and immediately think about the photograph rather than the place. We finish one trip and start planning the next before we have even unpacked. What would happen if you let an experience be complete before looking for another one? Sit somewhere beautiful and actually sit there. Taste the meal. Listen to the music. Enjoy the conversation without needing to document it. You do not have to accumulate moments. You can inhabit them. This is one of the differences between quantity and fulfillment. Quantity says, how many? Fulfillment asks, how deeply did I experience this? You can read 50 books and remember very little, or read one book slowly and let it change the way you think. You can attend 20 events and feel scattered, or spend an afternoon with somebody you love and go home full. We are not making a rule that less is always better. That would simply be another rigid idea. Sometimes more is delightful. More money can create freedom. More friends can bring joy. More travel can be wonderful. The question is not, is more bad? The question is more actually enriching me? That is where wisdom comes in. Suppose you earn more money and it allows you to live more comfortably, help people, travel, save, and relax. Wonderful. Enjoy it. Suppose earning twice as much requires you to give up your health, your sleep, your closest relationships, and every hour you enjoy, then perhaps the cost deserves a look. There is no universal answer. You decide what richness means. This is why enough is deeply personal. Enough for one person may feel too small for another. One person wants a large business and loves the responsibility. Another wants a small business and more free time. Neither is automatically more evolved. One person loves a big house filled with people. Another loves a small, quiet home. Fine. Enough should fit your life, not somebody else's performance of success. We get into trouble when comparison begins defining enough. You were perfectly happy with your home until you visited someone whose home was larger. You enjoyed your income until you heard what somebody else was earning. You liked your holiday until you saw someone else's photographs. Now suddenly what was enough 5 minutes ago feels inadequate. Isn't that interesting? The external situation did not change. Only the comparison changed. So be careful who you allow to define your sense of sufficiency. You can appreciate somebody else's beautiful life without turning it into evidence against your own. Their more does not make your enough less. If somebody has a larger home, bless the home. How lovely for them. Then go home and enjoy your own. If somebody is more successful in the work you do, appreciate what they have created. Perhaps learn something. But do not turn admiration into self-rejection. There is enough room in life for many expressions. And remember that more often creates maintenance. More belongings need more space. More commitments need more time. More success can bring more responsibility. Again, none of this is bad. Just know what you are choosing. Everything has an energetic cost. So perhaps before adding something, say, do I want not only to acquire this, but also to maintain it? That question can save you a lot of clutter, both physical and emotional. We love acquisition and forget maintenance. We want the garden but forget it must be watered. We want the big house but forget it has more rooms to clean. We want 10 projects but forget each project wants attention. Every yes creates a relationship with something. Be thoughtful about your yeses and perhaps become more comfortable with the phrase, I have enough of that. What a lovely sentence. I have enough clothes. I have enough commitments this month. I have enough information about this problem for today. I have done enough work. I have enough. We rarely hear ourselves say this because the culture speaks more fluently in more. But enough can be a very prosperous word. Enough food, enough time, enough money for what matters today, enough friendship, enough work, enough rest, enough. It does not slam the door on abundance. It simply allows you to experience abundance before infinity arrives. And then when you want something new, the desire becomes much cleaner. You are not saying, I need this because everything I have is inadequate. You are saying, I already have a good life and I would enjoy adding this. That is a very different experience. More from fullness feels different from more from emptiness. If you are already enough, success becomes something you can enjoy instead of something you need to survive emotionally. If your life is already worthy, money becomes a wonderful resource rather than proof that you matter. If you already value yourself, recognition becomes pleasant but not necessary for your existence. This does not make you less ambitious. It may actually make you more effective because you are no longer wasting so much energy proving something. You can choose goals because they interest you. You can work because you enjoy creating. You can earn because prosperity feels good. You can grow because learning is delightful. And then you can stop for dinner. That is important too. You know, there is always one more thing you could do. You could answer another email, read another article, improve another part of the house, learn another thing. But life has to be lived somewhere between all those improvements. So practice stopping while there is still a little energy left. That can feel very strange if you are used to stopping only when you are exhausted. You finish the workday and realize, I could do another hour. Perhaps you could, but perhaps you choose not to. Having energy left is not evidence that you failed to use enough of yourself. It means you have energy available for another part of life. You can use it to cook, to talk, to walk, to play, to think, to make love, to read, to do absolutely nothing for half an hour. These are part of life too. And perhaps this is the deeper lesson of enough. You stop making one area of life consume every other area. Work is important, but it is not the only thing. Money matters, but it is not the only thing. Growth matters, but it is not the only thing. There is also pleasure, friendship, rest, beauty, humor, curiosity, the body, the home, silence. A rich life contains many forms of richness, so simplify enough that you can feel them. Remove enough noise that you can hear yourself. Leave enough space that something unplanned can happen. Stay with something long enough to discover its depth and decide for yourself what enough means. Perhaps today, enough work means 3 important tasks done well. Perhaps enough social life means 1 meaningful conversation. Perhaps enough information means turning off the screen now. Perhaps enough achievement means saying, I am proud of what I already accomplished this year. Perhaps enough self-improvement means taking tonight off from improving yourself. Wouldn't that be fun? Imagine announcing, I'm taking the evening off from becoming a better person. Have dinner. Watch something funny. Take a bath. Be the perfectly adequate person you already are. Tomorrow, if you want, you can learn something. This is how I want you to think about simplicity, not as deprivation, but as making room for the life beneath all the activity. What adds richness, not just quantity, to my life? Use that question occasionally, then let the answer become practical. If a relationship adds richness, give it time. If creativity adds richness, protect some space for it. If earning more genuinely improves your life, pursue it joyfully. If another commitment only increases quantity, perhaps you do not need it. And if silence enriches you, stop apologizing for wanting some. You do not have to fill every shelf. You do not have to fill every hour. You do not have to fill every conversation. You do not have to fill every part of yourself with another project. There can be room. Room is not lack. Room is availability. And when there is room, you may begin to appreciate what is already present much more deeply. The friend becomes more interesting when you are actually listening. The meal tastes better when you are not rushing. The home feels better when it contains things you enjoy instead of things you simply accumulated. Your own company becomes richer when you stop treating every quiet moment as an emergency that requires entertainment. This is what depth gives us. Depth says, stay a little longer, notice a little more, listen a little more carefully. Let this experience be enough before reaching for another. And then, when you do choose more, let it be because you genuinely want more, not because the present version of your life has been declared inadequate. So perhaps these are the thoughts we carry forward. My worth is not measured by how exhausted I am. Let that free you from performing importance through busyness. I am allowed to define enough for myself. Let that free you from somebody else's finish line. I choose richness over unnecessary quantity. Let that help you simplify. And perhaps most importantly, I can go deeper into the good that is already here, because there may already be a great deal here that you have not fully experienced yet. There may be more love available in the relationship you already have, more pleasure in the home you already live in, more ability in the skill you already began, more beauty in the ordinary places you already pass, more peace in the time you keep trying to fill. You may not need another life. Perhaps you need to inhabit this one more fully. And that, you know, can be a very rich way to live. You know, the more I think about enoughness, the more I see that it often begins with letting go rather than getting more. We are so accustomed to asking, what else do I need? That we rarely ask, what am I carrying that I no longer need? And sometimes what we are carrying is not a thing at all. It is the need to impress people, the need to keep up, the need to prove that we are improving, the need to look successful, the need to have an answer when someone asks what we are doing with our lives. Well, that is a lot of luggage. You can put some of it down. You do not have to impress everybody. In fact, you cannot. There will always be someone who prefers another way of living. So perhaps it is much more peaceful to ask, do I like the life I am creating? If the answer is yes, wonderful. If the answer is no, Then make changes because they matter to you, not because you want applause. And while you are putting things down, stop keeping score of whether you are ahead of or behind somebody else. Life is not a race with one finish line. Someone may have more money at 30. Someone else discovers meaningful work at 50. Someone marries young. Someone finds love later. Someone travels the world. Someone creates a beautiful life in one small town. Fine. Their timing is not your timetable. Comparing timelines makes us miserable because there is always somebody who seems ahead in whatever category we choose. And if you finally get ahead in that category, the mind will find another one. So drop the scoreboard. You will immediately have more energy for your own life. Then look at your goals. Some of them may no longer belong to you. We can carry a goal for years simply because we once announced it to everybody. I said I wanted this career. I said I would live there. I said I would become that. Well, perhaps you changed. Isn't that allowed? You are not required to remain loyal to an old dream that no longer feels alive simply to prove that you are consistent. You are allowed to outgrow what you once wanted. Sometimes releasing a goal is not giving up. Sometimes it is finally telling the truth. The same is true of possessions. We can buy and keep things because they support an image of who we think we ought to be. Clothes for a lifestyle we do not actually live. Objects that say, I am successful, although we hardly enjoy them. Things we are afraid to release because they once cost money. But if you do not use it, love it, or need it, perhaps it has already completed its job. Let someone else enjoy it. Your home does not have to be a museum of every identity you have ever tried on. And please give yourself permission to have some room in your schedule. A calendar filled from morning until night may look very impressive, but sometimes it simply means there is nowhere for life to enter unexpectedly. You need room to breathe, room to change your mind, room for a long conversation, room to be tired one afternoon, room to do something because it sounds fun rather than because it has been booked 6 weeks in advance. Leave a little space. Space is not wasted time. Then there is the need to be constantly improving. Oh, this can become a full-time occupation. We decide every morning that something about us must get better. The body, the mind, the income, the habits, the communication, the productivity. And yes, growth is wonderful, but perhaps every day does not need to be a seminar on your deficiencies. Sometimes you can simply be a person. You do not have to improve every part of yourself to justify being alive. Some parts of you can simply be enjoyed. Let go of old shoulds too. I should be married by now. I should own a house. I should want more. I should be busier. I should have healed this already. Who says? Perhaps that should belong to your family, perhaps to the culture, perhaps to an old version of you. You can take each should and ask, Is this still true for me? If it is, keep it. If not, release it. A should that no longer fits becomes a very uncomfortable piece of mental clothing. And notice when you accumulate things to fill an inner space. Sometimes we shop because we are bored. Sometimes we eat because the evening feels empty. Sometimes we add another project because stillness makes us uncomfortable. Sometimes we collect information because knowing more gives us the feeling that we are in control. There is nothing wrong with buying something lovely or beginning a new project. Just do not ask the new thing to solve a problem that belongs somewhere else. If you need companionship, another pair of shoes may not do the job very well. If you need rest, another goal probably will not help. And finally, release the belief that more always means better. More can be better. Sometimes it is. More money can give freedom. More knowledge can be wonderful. More love can be delightful. But sometimes better means less. Fewer commitments and more presence. Fewer possessions and more space. Fewer acquaintances and deeper friendships. Fewer goals and more energy for the ones that matter. Better is not a number. Better is a quality of experience. Now let's talk about love, because this feeling of not being enough often sneaks into relationships too. We hear phrases like, my other half, as though each person arrives incomplete and must find somebody else to become a whole human being. I do not believe love needs to work that way. A relationship is not a rescue mission. You do not need another person to complete your existence. You meet another person because companionship, intimacy, laughter, affection, and shared experience can make life richer. That is very different from saying, without you, I am nothing. I like the image of two trees growing beside each other. Their branches may touch. They may share the same rain, the same sunlight, the same wind. Their roots may even mingle beneath the ground. But each tree still has its own trunk. Each one has its own way of reaching toward the light. Healthy love allows closeness without erasing individuality. You can love somebody deeply and still have your own interests, your own friends, your own thoughts, your own quiet time. Connection does not require disappearance. And when you know that you are already whole, you do not need the other person to constantly prove your value. Of course, reassurance feels good. Affection feels good. Attention feels good. Enjoy all of it. But do not make another person's attention the daily measurement of whether you are lovable. If they are busy today, you are still lovable. If they do not agree with you, you are still lovable. If they need space, you are still lovable. Their behavior can give you information about the relationship, but it does not create your worth. This makes love much more peaceful because you can meet another person as a companion rather than a supplier of identity. I meet you as a whole person, not as the missing piece of me. I think that is a beautiful way to love. I bring my life. You bring your life. We share. we support, we create something together. But we do not ask each other to carry the impossible job of making the other person permanently feel complete. And perhaps this is why enoughness can be experienced in a very ordinary day. We think completeness must feel extraordinary, but sometimes it feels like having enough food, sitting across from someone you can really talk to, having an afternoon where nobody needs anything from you, and getting into a clean bed at night. That can be a very good life. A worthwhile life does not have to entertain you constantly. There are ordinary days that contain enormous richness if we stop demanding fireworks. Imagine a simple day. You wake up without rushing. You eat something you enjoy. You do your work. You have one honest conversation. You walk outside. You laugh at something silly. You come home. You sleep. Nothing makes the news. Nobody gives you an award. And yet, wasn't there life in that day? Wasn't there nourishment? Wasn't there connection? Wasn't there enough? We have become very interested in collecting experiences, but perhaps we could become better at digesting them. You see, it is possible to have something without really receiving it. You can go on a beautiful trip and spend the whole time thinking about where you will go next. You can achieve a goal and immediately ask what the next one is. You can have a wonderful evening and before it is over, begin worrying about tomorrow. Let good experiences fully reach you. When something lovely happens, stay for a moment. Let it register. Somebody says something kind, receive it. A project goes well, enjoy that before turning it into another assignment. You have a beautiful meal, taste it. You have a peaceful evening, do not immediately search for stimulation. Let the nervous little mind discover that good can be experienced without instantly being replaced. This is another way of moving from accumulation to fulfillment. Do not only ask, how many places have I visited? Ask, was I there? Do not only ask, how many books have I read? Ask, did any of them enter me? Do not only ask, how many friends do I have? Ask, do I feel known? Quantity counts things. Depth receives them. And this is very important with ambition too. I like ambition when it is alive. Ambition can be creativity moving through you. It can be curiosity saying, I wonder what I can build. It can be contribution saying, I have something useful to offer. There is nothing wrong with wanting to succeed, but ambition becomes heavy when it is secretly saying, if I become successful enough, perhaps I will finally deserve respect. That is too much weight to put on success. So there is one question worth using occasionally. Would I still want this if nobody were watching? Not every day. We do not need to interrogate ourselves endlessly, but it can clarify things. Would you still want to build this business if nobody were impressed? Would you still want this house if nobody saw it? Would you still choose this career if the title did not sound important? If yes, wonderful. There is something genuine there. If no, perhaps you are working very hard for an audience that may not even be paying attention. You can create from joy. You can create because the idea fascinates you. You can become successful because you love excellence. You can earn a great deal because prosperity feels expansive. Ambition does not require self-rejection. You do not have to say, "Who I am now is inadequate, therefore I must achieve." You can say, "Who I am now is enough, and I am curious about what I can create next." Feel the difference. And underneath all of this is something even larger. We sometimes try so hard to hold on to a fixed identity because we think we will disappear without it. I am this profession. I am this role. I am this kind of person. But life keeps moving. You change jobs. Children grow. Relationships change. Bodies change. Interests change. Who are you then? Think of a river reaching the ocean. The river does not cease to exist because it has joined something larger. It becomes part of a greater movement. In the same way, you can belong to life without losing yourself. I am not separate from life. I am an expression of it. You are not standing outside the universe trying desperately to prove that you deserve a place in it. You are already here. You are participating. And connection does not make you smaller. It can make the self less frightened. You do not have to protect your identity every second when you know your being is larger than a job title, a bank balance, an achievement, or another person's opinion. These things can change, and you remain alive, capable of learning, capable of loving, capable of beginning again. That brings us to a beautiful shift. Instead of continually asking, "What am I still missing?" begin asking, "How would I like to use what I already have?" This changes everything. If you already have enoughness at the center, then your energy is no longer consumed entirely by proving yourself. You have energy available for expression. You have time. How would you like to use some of it? You have abilities. What could you create? You have experience. Who might benefit from what you learned? You have love. Where would you like it to flow? You have a voice. What would you like to say? You have resources of some kind. How can they participate in life? Enoughness does not make you passive. It makes you available. When you stop spending all your energy trying to prove that you are worthy, you can actually do something interesting with your worthiness. This is the shift from accumulation to expression. Instead of "How much can I collect?" it becomes "What can move through me?" Money can move through you into useful things. Knowledge can move through you into teaching. Love can move through you into relationships. Creativity can move through you into work. Experience can move through you into wisdom. You become less like a storage room and more like a living channel. And that feels very different. So you can still dream very big. Please do. If a great dream lives in you, honor it. You can want tremendous prosperity. You can build something meaningful. You can fall deeply in love. You can travel, learn, create, achieve. Enoughness is not a small life. It is simply a life where your dreams are not being asked to rescue you from yourself. You do not have to hate today in order to love tomorrow. You do not have to insult your present self in order to encourage your future self. You do not have to call your current life inadequate in order to create something new. You can stand right where you are and say, "This is enough to begin from." That is powerful. I am enough before the next achievement. Let that settle in. You do not become enough when the applause begins. You take your enoughness with you into the achievement. I choose depth over endless accumulation. I want to know people deeply. I want to experience my days fully. I want to be present for what I already have. I allow simplicity to make my life richer. I remove what distracts me from what matters. I desire from joy, not from emptiness. I can want beautifully. I can want freely. I do not need desire to be desperation. And finally, I am whole. And from this wholeness, I am free to create. That is the whole point. You are not finished. You are whole. Those are not the same thing. You can be whole and still learning, whole and still changing, whole and still dreaming, whole and still wanting another experience. Wholeness does not mean there is nothing more to do. It means there is nothing fundamentally missing from your right to be here, to love yourself, to participate in life. Perhaps freedom does not arrive on the day when you finally own everything you ever wanted. There will always be something else available to want. Perhaps freedom begins much earlier. It begins when you can sit in an ordinary room, in an ordinary body, in the middle of an unfinished life, and realize, I can live now. I can love now. I can create now. I can enjoy now. I can contribute now. I can rest now. I can dream now. And when the next wonderful thing arrives, I will enjoy that too. But I do not have to wait for it before I give myself permission to be alive. You are already enough. And because you are enough, you are free to choose what comes next.